welcome to our spoiler review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And now we're going to be talking about a lot of details from the film that we didn't go into detail, that we're going to go into more detail of, that was from the film and also mentioned in our other spoiler-free video. So, with Rogue One, a Star Wars story, of course you already know, the story involves with Jyn Erso, who is a young girl who is the daughter of an Imperial officer who's actually a scientist who's actually worked on the Death Star. He actually helped create the Death Star, played by Mads Mikkelsen. And as you see from the film, it shows that he gets captured by the Empire because they want him to complete the creation of the Death Star.
He, basically his story is he went rogue himself, and they found him.
Yeah.
It's because of the plans that he helped create the Death Star. He already knew that that if he fully went out helping them, that it would be so powerful they can kill everybody.
Yeah, and that's what I really enjoyed about this part when it first opens up, is how throughout the later in the film you start to see flashbacks that involves him and his daughter when he was younger, or when she was younger, and you start to see that that him and the main Imperial officer, I forgot the guy's name, but the main villain who is going after them.
Can't remember the guy in the white suit. Yeah, like he was off of Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I know the guy's. I forgot the guy's name, but yeah, he was from that one. And as the film goes along, you know, as we mentioned in our other video, you start to see that she's coming across the other Rebel Alliance fighters who are going after her dad because they believe that because he is involved with the Empire, they actually want to do an assassination mission on him, because that's what the plan is for the Diego Luna's character. And what's also fascinating, which I actually got surprised by when they did this, because I didn't see any trailers or marketing behind this, we actually get reintroduced to Governor Tarkin from the original film. And believe it or not, they actually use a CGI image of him from the original movie, which I thought was really, for this kind of CGI they used on him, I thought was really great.
It's really great. I gotta say that I totally forgot that wasn't him for a little bit until I got onto it. So it kind of made, they obviously did a good job on it, me thinking, you know, that was actually a real person.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's been dead for decades, but it was interesting how in other movies we've seen it to where they've taken, like, actors who are older now, they made it to where it's called de-aging, where they make their faces look younger. This one, for the first time, I can say this one actually really got to me in how they capture a lot of what he looked like from the original film. They got like the dimples, they got a lot of the mouth and everything on him, which I thought was really cool. And another thing I really enjoyed as the movie goes along is you also get to see other things that they do later expand upon. Like those two guys. Remember those two guys they run into that were from the original film? The ones that mess with Luke and Obi-Wan in the bar? They actually come back in this one.
Yeah, that was cool because they bring up the bar where Han Solo always went. That one where you have all the like creatures hanging out. I liked that. I did like how they had like the Death Star. I mean, I liked how they brought everything back to the original. And since this is a spoiler review, they do bring R2-D2 and CP3O in this film. They did a quick. That was pretty cool. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, they have a quick cameo, but they mention they're mentioning what's happening, and C-3PO's like, what? They're going to wherever, and then it just you know, I thought it was really a cute moment seeing them two again, because it basically, what we get down to it is that later in the film we see that the Death Star plans are on this island planet it's hidden inside this fortress, and in a way it kind of reminds me of the end of Return of the Jedi, with how it's like in the woods kind of.
You got the woods, but it kind of reminds you where they had like that jungle and that water.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the ocean water and all that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Return of the Jedi. But the thing that I really enjoyed a lot too was so you know how I mean, I can't really remember, but don't they mention these planets that they destroy in this movie in the original?
I believe so. I mean, the only one that they mention that well, the only one I remember they mentioned in the original film was they destroyed Alderaan, which is where Princess Leia is from. But I don't know if they mentioned that in this one. because they don't go to that planet, but I think they might have mentioned it because her dad is also in this film too. Bail Organa, who was previously played by Jimmy Smits from Revenge of the Sith, he actually reprised his role here where he's helping the rebellion. And I thought that was really cool that they brought him as part of the leader of the rebellion, as part of the rebellion group.
Yeah. But you know what this movie kind of reminded me of in a lot of ways? Kind of reminded me of the first Star Trek in 2009, where they had where the Death Star, you know, is obviously blowing up planets with one shot, and with that one robot that they have in this one, he kind of reminds me of Spock with all the where he's like, you got 35% chance of survival.
Yeah, I really like him, that Imperial droid that they have in this one, because he brought a lot more of the comic relief in the film, but I thought, much like with C-3PO, I thought he was a nice addition to Star Wars, and how, because my three favorite characters are Jyn Erso, and then the blind guy, I forgot his name, and then the Imperial droid, because all three of them, I feel like, because they have more of their standout moments, they really show a lot of some of the the other two show more of the comedy parts with some of the quirks they do, but also a lot of the badass fight scenes are in. And
droid, I gotta agree that my actual two was the between the droid and the Asian guy, the blind Asian guy who's the only one who pretty much mentions the Force.
Yeah, where his famous line is like, I am one with the Force is with me. You know, he does that like throughout the entire film because he really believes in the Force. I really enjoyed his character. Now, again, like we said in the other video, one of my biggest cons was that they didn't go into too much character development with a lot of the team, because you start to notice that throughout the film, well, at least toward like the last act of the film, even though we spent time on them, we still don't really get to really know them that well. So there are parts like toward the end when it starts to have a lot of emotional depth for them. I thought that it didn't really get to me, apart from probably the main two, but between Jyn and Diego Luna's character.
Yeah, which was kind of disappointing, because you had the android and you had the two Asian guys who end up dying, and the first one's dying, and you want to feel emotions, because this one, since, you know, spoiler, everybody is not surviving in this one, because it leads into New Hope. So you want that development of like feeling emotions, like you generally do with all the Star Wars films. Like we said in both these reviews of Rogue One, is the character development was really not that great. Though it's still a good film, really, really good movie. It's just they could have done a lot better with character development, and especially when they spent too much time on scenes that didn't matter in the first hour. And Forrest Whitaker's character, that guy is pretty much the most useless character in the movie, because he really didn't have to be in this movie, but yet they promoted him in the trailer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure the character is more progressed in the Clone Wars TV series, because that's where I read about him. He originally came from the Clone Wars TV series, which bridged the gap between 2 and 3. But I feel like because you're pretty much having to look up more in an expanding universe kind of tie-in, that really kind of defeats the purpose of seeing it as in a standalone film. So yeah, that did bother me a lot, because when he dies, I really didn't really feel anything, because we barely even know who he was, besides the fact that he took care of Jyn and he knew her father.
All right. Other than the scene where he actually dies before talking to her and then he dies, the only other scenes he's in are in like a couple of like 10-second shots. That's mainly being him on another side of a camera.
Yeah, where he's talking off screen to the pilot that he captures. And granted, I do like this scene because he's getting information out of the guy, but we still don't understand exactly what his plan is. You know, other than the fact that
I felt like he was just wasted, like a waste.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, though, like, another thing, like we said in our other video, a lot of times throughout, at least probably the first 40 minutes, the pacing kind of took a bit to build up to try to give us some of the action scenes. Because even though we see at the beginning and then snippets here and there, it does take a while as far as, like, actual, there's, like, a lot of plotting going on where after we get introduced to our main squad, they do go from point A to point B, and really if you look at it, they could really do this. They could really, looking for the plans, they could have resolved really in a shorter time. Because they really go from planet to planet, and really, a lot of the times, these planets don't even really mean anything to them.
Yeah, I know. I noticed they were getting, like, they were jumping planet to planet. It was kind of hard to keep up. And the part where Forrest Whitaker pulls her out of that hole at the very beginning when she's a little girl and says, come with him, and then the next scene is her waking up in the Stormtrooper prison.
Yeah.
So did he backstab her, or are we going to say that she grew up on her own and did some bad shit as a rebel and got arrested? We don't know.
Well, we can assume. I can probably assume that he probably trained her as a young girl when she was younger, and something happened to where it made her leave him because of something that we're not too sure about, and it causes her to get arrested from the Imperials. That's what I got. But yeah, I mean, another thing too that I really was impressed with, because with the climax, I already pretty much knew that they were going to tie things together with New Hope, and especially when we finally get introduced to Darth Vader, where it looks like he's on the same planet that he was in Revenge of the Sith, that kind of lava planet, the Mustafar system. So it was really cool seeing him get introduced again, pretty much in an ironic way, starting where Revenge of the Sith left off and going where he was in this one. And
I did like how they started with that, where like you first get introduced to him, and he's actually, instead of him being in his suit at first, he's burnt like Chris, like he was in Revenge of the Sith, and he comes out of that little bar, and that's when you see his suit come on.
Yeah.
That's basically how they did it with that movie, and then you gotta praise him for keeping the nostalgia music with it.
Yeah, that's what I really enjoyed with it too, and speaking of Darth Vader, even though Darth Vader's not in this one too much, because I already knew that he wasn't going to be having a big role, but when he comes to the end, when it actually ties things to New Hope, this is like the most brutal shit that I've ever seen actual Darth Vader do in a Star Wars film. Because that scene where the
part where he had those guys are trying to run from him because they have the disc, and he's fucking just fucking straight out Jason Voorhees these guys.
Yeah, it was like scary in parts too, because he shows up because at first I was kind of thrown off where I thought it was like opening like New Hope was, where he's coming out with the Stormtroopers, but no, this is actually where him coming out on his own, and he's in like the darkness, and he starts slicing dudes left and right with his lightsaber, and I thought that was pretty brutal.
That was too, and like you can see how like basically in this one, and a lot of people might get this mixed up, but I actually kind of like this, the way they did it was. People were expecting Darth Vader was the main villain in this one. Actually, no, he's not. He's actually a Plan B, because the Plan A is actually the guy in the white coat, which is pretty much trying to impress the Emperor, but fails because he gets defeated. And that's when you see the last 10 minutes where Darth Vader said, "Fuck it, I'm doing it now. I'm taking over." Yeah,
and that's what also was cool. How it's funny that in this one, and also in New Hope. Have you noticed that the guy, the Tarkin, the Governor Tarkin character, played by Peter Cushing, has more screen time than Vader does? It seems like he's pretty much the main villain of both movies. Because you notice that, like, I'm serious. If you go back and watch New Hope, you'll notice that. I mean, granted, he's in all the scenes Vader's in, but it seems like we see a lot more shots with him than we do see with Vader. So, but it was cool seeing him return in this movie because. I mean, granted, I know the guy's been dead for decades, but the way that they use that technology on him, I thought was very cool. Recreating what he looked like, and I also really enjoyed the way that when the actual space battles go on, you start to see some great like on foot.
And some of the parts where the guy where the rebellions and like those nostalgia ships as they're shooting and fighting the destroyers and all that, they kind of have it to where it kind of looks nostalgia looking.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like Saving Private Ryan. I got kind of a Saving Private Ryan kind of vibe out of that last 30 minutes where they're actually on the beach and they're shooting the Imperial officers and stuff. It really felt like, like we said before, an actual war movie. And I especially love the way that we have these other kind of stormtroopers that are kind of camouflaged, like the ones you see on that one planet where they're like in the rain or whatever. So,
It was a little funny. I did laugh hard on that part where the stormtroopers they pretty much catch all the main people, like the girl and all them, and they try to blindfold them, and that one stormtrooper put the blindfold over that blind Asian dude.
Yeah, I like that part. It was funny where he's like, why are you doing this? I'm blind.
That did make me laugh.
Yeah, they do have some great comedy parts in this one too, mainly from the droid that I really liked, and
Asian dude.
yeah, and him, and it's what this is what I consider more of as its own film. It's great as a fun, entertaining like action film. As a Star Wars film, it's still good, but because I think they don't expand too much on the story, it really feels more like a tie-in to New Hope than it does really its own Star Wars film.
I can see that, but I was glad that they tied fully in because boy, that ending, even though you can kind of see it a little bit, but that ending, I was so freaking happy when it was Princess Leia.
Yeah. That was really great too. I was going to get to that. The way they made it to where she looked younger, like she was in the original film, and they got a girl that sounded like her too, where she says it's a rebel, it's. But yeah, that was great seeing her at the end of that. So I mean, there's more I want to go into detail, but I mean, I figured we pretty much covered our ground with a lot of what was in the spoiler territory. Because I mean, really, if you break it down, there's not really much to spoil as far as like the main climax and pretty much some of the
a lot of the cameos and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
really nothing is really spoiled. I mean, if you want to hear more detail in order of the story, you can check out our no spoiler review that we did.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I still really do enjoy the film a lot, and I'm glad that Star Wars is coming back into making them great again, like they were in the original trilogy. Because it's now got me pumped for seeing other spin-offs, like the Han Solo spin-off, and with Episode 8 coming next year. So I do want to see more of what they have in mind. And you know what? If they ever get down to it, they could even do a spin-off of Boba Fett or some other character that was from like the original films and do more of their stories. Because there's so much.
Like I was saying in my other review, I've never truly hated any Star Wars film. I have problems with 1 and 2, the Phantom Menace and the Attack of the Clones. I have problems with those, but I don't hate them to death. And Episode 3 and all the other ones, I've always enjoyed all of them. The sky's the limit with Star Wars, and I hope they keep on doing it. I like to see more spin-offs with Wookiees and all that. We've already had Ewoks, and yes, a lot of people don't understand the nostalgia with it because a lot of people hate Ewoks. I personally see it as a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I do like the Ewoks too, and
well, I've been torn apart for liking it because apparently I didn't realize how many people actually fucking hated Ewoks. But I personally think it's a good guilty pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, someday I'm going to check out those 2 Ewoks TV specials they did from the 80s that I'm going to probably watch. So, but yeah, we do.
Yeah, I extremely enjoyed the hell out of Rogue One. I do recommend if you haven't seen it, please, and you're watching our spoiler review, I will recommend, and I should have said this in the non-spoiler review, check this movie out in 2D instead of 3D because this movie was not really made for 3D.
Yeah, I agree. Like when I saw the IMAX theater in 3D, it looked fine as far as when you take the glasses off, you see depth in the background. But as far as like pop-out moments and that atmosphere, it doesn't really hold up as far as when you're actually watching it. You could really just watch it in 2D and get the same effect of it. So yeah, I'd recommend just watching it in 2D instead of 3D.
But yeah, I'm a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm a 8 out of 10, but I really do enjoy it, and I'm really glad that it's getting great Star Wars films again. What did you guys think of Star Wars, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story? Comment below, and if you like what you see here, we can check out our other video Star Wars, which is the spoiler-free review, and you can also check out our Force Awakens review that we did last year. And we'll be seeing you guys in our next review. We'll see you later.